Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Everyday History Podcast. In this episode, we're going to explore the history of something that I think we have all taken for granted at many times in our lives. Can you guess what that is? I know it's kind of a widespread, right? That's just a vague...
Well, I can tell you what it's not. Mousetraps, cats, hot dogs, the fuck word, and home run.
Yeah. Home run. It is none of those things. It has nothing to do with any of those things. It's something that keeps us cool. It's good for medical purposes, from like laboratories and other vital parts of our daily lives. Today we are going to explore the super chill everyday history of the air conditioner.
Oh, shit.
Hear the word air conditioning. What comes to mind? Oh, yeah. For me, it's that window unit I've got in my bedroom. I can't sleep in the heat. I don't know if you're the same way. You know,
I have the same. I would rather be too cold and cover up than be way too hot. Cause
exactly.
You can't get more naked, you know?
Yeah. Well, you could try, but it's going to hurt.
Good luck. Message us and let me know if you figure out how to do that. And then maybe I'll change my stance. I don't know.
Especially with us, we live in that unpredictable Virginia climate.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, it could be like 30 degrees outside one day and 75 the next.
Yeah, leafers, stick around and see how great it is.
Yeah. I, for one, am thankful to the gods of air cooling for providing us with this blessing.
Was it the gods that created it, John, Everyday History Podcast?
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay.
You know, one thing that's weird about air conditioning to me is, and I'll never be able to understand why the air conditioning at a hotel just fucks so hard compared to the ones in our houses.
Oh, dude, and the heat, too. I know we're not talking about heat. That's kind of the mortal enemy of today's subject. But, God, you are so right, dude. They fuck so hard.
Like the damn thing at the Days Inn on the interstate in rural North Carolina is probably 50 years old, but blows out air so cold that there's frost on the windows in the morning. Like, I need that.
My nipples are making a fucking tent because I'm so cold.
So I'm sorry to take my personal wet dream out on you, but it felt important.
I'm here for it.
So we think of these high-tech systems when we think air conditioning, right? There's all these little gadgets and doodads inside of them.
I'll tell you what's doubly interesting. Plot twist. I actually have 2 certifications in refrigeration and HVAC.
Oh, wow. I can hear the panties dropping now.
No. Pull them back up. I can't actually do it.
You are forklift sort of certified, though, right?
In name only.
Everyone's drying up right now.
Yeah, well, listen. Before you can pull them back down, but listen, hear me out. Okay, I can drive with the best of them, and that is a challenge to anybody listening, yourself included.
No, I totally believe that. I've never driven one, but I've seen the controls, and I wouldn't know where to start.
Oh, dude, whatever. It's just like playing a fucking video game. You got the steering wheel. You drive a car. You got pedals. Hell, this shit's so nice. The brake pedal's on the left. You can use 2 feet to drive this motherfucker.
I'm already confused. So, of course, air conditioning didn't start off, with the super high-tech gadgetry that we use now in them. Like, the first one wasn't digital. I don't know if you've ever seen, like, an old-school air conditioner, because we used to have an old-school window unit when I lived at my parents' house.
No, I don't think I have.
It had these little knobs that would click like the old TVs when you turn it.
Okay.
And like it would shake the whole house when it would start. Well, it wasn't that bad, but it had a vibration to it for sure.
Like when those outdoor units fire up and shit.
Yeah, like you'd have to be yelling over each other to talk. Well, it wasn't that bad either.
I'm sorry, I'm glad we're beating the heat today.
Hot one, isn't it?
What?
But see, even that, though, would have been more high-tech than the first air conditioners.
Oh, it gets even more primitive.
Yeah, because we're going back to the ancient fucking world with this.
Oh, fuck yes. All right. Are we going? Listen, I'm going to roll the dice. Does my man Homer have anything to do with the AC? Was it mentioned in any of his epics?
No, Homer Simpson has nothing to do with the air conditioner.
Damn. Okay. Well, moving on.
And I know it wasn't Homer Simpson that wrote the...
Yeah, haters, shut up.
Doe.
Comment down below.
But as you could probably guess, primitive roots of air conditioning did start in Egypt.
Of course. They're
Because,
smart. They're brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. But what they used was more of an evaporative cooling method called a wind catcher.
A wind catcher?
Yes.
Oh, kind of like those towers that have they have strategically placed to cycle the air a certain way and shit like that.
Yes, not something like that, exactly like that.
Fucking score!
So I'm so glad you already know what that is, because I'm going to start using some technical stuff here that I didn't understand. So I'm glad you already know what it is.
Okay, well, understand is a bit of a far cry, but I will hang in there and do my best.
So as you already said, it's basically, it's a tower on top of a building on a roof, and it would catch the wind as the wind would pass, and it would go over something called a qanat. I don't know, QANAT, which I know I'm mispronouncing, but it's okay. It would take air and it would pass it underground to cool it, and then it would come up through the house and exit through the wind catcher.
Okay, so is the cooling the breeze that's blowing, or is the act of it catching this wind? Catching wind.
It's from what I understand, and like I said before, we are not historians, and I'm not an engineer, and I'm not HVAC certified, so I don't know.
Huge flex. I know you can't see me, but I am flexing so fucking hard right now.
So I'm going to try to post some illustrations on our Facebook and Instagram to kind of, if people want to actually see what it looks like.
Okay.
Because, the wordage of it is all jumbly. But
yeah, if you don't understand the jargon, that you need an illustration.
I needed an illustration, was more of what it was for.
Oh.
It was wind that would kind of cool everything down. It wasn't so much that it actually cooled the air itself using any type of technology. They were literally bending the world's, physics to their will.
God, what a great understanding and ingenuity. I mean, that's just, I know we have modern equipment, and that's all fine and well, but just I have so much, especially as we do this, I mean, really, and sorry to go off on this diatribe, but
no, go ahead.
I just have such an appreciation for the way the ancient peoples just did stuff, man. It's so cool. Fucking airbender.
Necessity is the mother of invention, and this is exactly what that was, pretty much. I mean...
Right, folks, we've all been hot, but let me ask you this. How many of us have created an apparatus to artificially cool the air?
Yeah.
Not me.
Okay, so to kind of get to the boring part out of the way, these things were constructed using a series of vertical shafts that would be connected by an underground shaft. By an underground horizontal shaft. That was slightly sloped.
Curved. Damn it!
And it would carry water to a distribution point. So it was basically the tunnels were created to bring water from one point to this other point. So you'd have fresh water in a dry desert environment.
Right.
But the brilliant part to me, that in and of itself is, holy shit, guys. That's amazing.
We got water.
But they would take those tunnels would go underneath of a building, and then they'd dig a hole in the building to meet the tunnel, and through that it would create that wind, they create the wind tower, and then it would create that breeze that would roll through. Basically, that water was help cooling the air.
Okay.
And scientists say that it could cool the air from somewhere between 14 and 22 degrees Fahrenheit.
Damn.
So if it was 100 degrees, it might feel more like 80, which is a lot.
Right. You and I both know if it's a hot Virginia day in the sun when it's 90 in the beating wintertime, when you come inside and it's 72, oh, that feels so nice.
Yes. And I can tell you from living in Arizona for a while like I did, there's something to be said about the dry heat is different. I feel like from my personal experience, and I could be way off, that type of cooling would actually feel more dramatic because there was no humidity. And I don't know maybe Egypt's really humid. I've never been.
Me either.
But I'm going with the fact that it's a desert, so maybe.
Right. Comment down below. Correct us, please. Unless you're a hater, then shut up.
Please correct us politely. Be gentle. It's our first time.
I'm so weak and fleshy.
We've never gone this far before, I swear. Egyptians that didn't have a way to tap into that tunnel would hang wet reeds in the windows, and the hot air would pass through and get cooled by evaporation. That's pretty brilliant, too.
Yeah.
And the homes typically had thick walls to help, the heat not be so brutal on the inside. So, I mean, they thought of everything that I would never have thought of any of that.
No. I mean, now that you say it, I can say like, oh yeah, I'd have thought of that. But on my own, I'd be like, man, I'm dying out here. Please, I'm gonna shrivel up into a raisin.
Yeah, like it's simple in many ways, but at the same time, I would just, like you said, fall down the desert and die.
Right, there's brilliance in the simplicity, in the fact that it's like it's right there in front of you. The Earth, God, aliens, universe, whatever does it, just like dangles it in front of your face like a little treat. Like it's right there, it's everywhere, it's warm.
Dangle. Now, ancient Rome came up with its own system, so we're going to fast forward a little bit.
Okay.
They used a form of radiant cooling. And are you familiar with the Roman aqueduct system?
Yes.
Yeah, I think most people have heard of it. I've heard of it, which means that most people have probably heard of it because I don't hear much.
It's a fun word. Aqueduct. It feels sophisticated to say.
It does. I'm not going to go into excruciating detail on how they built these things because, goddamn, that would be a whole episode of itself, and we're not a construction podcast. So, yeah. But the basic idea was they'd make these long bridge-like structures that would use gravity to transport water to villages and cities, and sometimes even directly to a wealthy Roman's house directly.
Oh, wow.
And I know I said directly twice there, but that's because I wrote it that way because I'm an idiot and made it really redundant.
Well, it just drives the point home. I mean, you got to think about what time it is to have water coming right to your home.
Directly.
That's why you directly.
So some of these systems would have had a series of pipes that would wind through the walls of some rich asshole's house and help cool it down.
Okay.
Which is pretty smart.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop
with one stone.
Get two birds stoned at once. Exactly. So I'll stop right here and make a note because I made a note. First of all, the aqueducts, at least in Rome, don't appear to have been used for cooling specifically in any widespread way. It was more of a way to get water.
Okay.
So I actually had to do a lot of searching to find any reference of the wealthy asshole's house thing.
Right. And I guess you think about it like geographically, like they're in the Mediterranean kind of area. So I guess you got a little more moisture and things. It probably cools down from time to time. I've never been to Rome.
I haven't either.
Full disclosure. I am ill-traveled. Okay.
And it would also take a vast amount of resources to outfit everyone's house like that, or even, the middle class house.
Yeah.
It would just take a lot of resources that they could use for other things.
Right, and they got statues and coliseums and shit to build, much more important societies to conquer.
And since I can't find anything more about it, I'm just going to assume this was maybe like a third or fourth priority function. It wasn't like a, oh yeah, let's make sure we get the houses all lined up with this shit. So yeah, the main purpose and function was the transportation of clean water.
Okay, good. So when lead pipes, yes, that's true.
I don't know if it was lead pipes.
I think I remember reading, watching.
You might be right.
Yeah, probably not. That's not how this works.
Now, from what I can tell, the aqueduct system offered the most advanced cooling system for centuries after this.
Oh, wow.
Even though its primary use was for moving water from place to place, it was still like the most advanced cooling system if it was to be used that way.
Right. They're like, so we're not going to use it like that. And then they're like, well, I found out moving water cools things down.
And they're like, well, this is the peak. There could be other stuff, but I could not find it. So I want to emphasize I looked everywhere to find anything more. And that was just aqueducts for centuries. In fact, aqueducts are still being used today.
Oh, yeah. Like Roman style?
More advanced, of course. But the same basic concept. In fact, one of them is the Governor Edmund J. Brown California Aqueduct, which is over 400 miles long.
What?
And construction for this fucking behemoth started in 1963, and the first branch opened in 1968. So we're still using that technology to this day, basically. We're just giving some tweaks and some upgrades.
Okay. All right. Nice.
Yeah. So what was next, right? Like, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, how do they improve upon that? Why even invent anything else once you've discovered moving water?
From what I could find, the next step in the air conditioning evolution came from the most electrifying man in U.S. history.
Who?
Oh, that's staying in. Benny Two Shits Franklin.
Oh,
Benny Franks. Ben
Benny
Franklin.
Franks. He just looks like so no fucks to give on the back of that $100 bill. It's like he knew one day I'm gonna be on the biggest bill, and I don't give a fuck about it, man. I don't. This shit ain't nothing to me. I'm going to France next week, bro. Fucking 2 chicks at once.
That's why I called him Benny Two Shits Franklin, because to me it looks like he doesn't give two shits.
That's accurate. Yeah, yeah.
So in 1758, the old horny kite jockey himself performed one of the first documented testings for the theory of air conditioning with Dr. John Hadley, a chemistry professor from Cambridge University in England. Or Uni, as they call it over there. Uni.
Uni.
The spark of inspiration, see, because, kite, electricity, came from an alleged incident one sunny July day in Philadelphia. It's always sunny in Philadelphia, apparently, in the 1750s. So old Benny F. was sitting in his room, sweating profusely, head to taint, despite the small breeze blowing in through his open window. So he got up to change his shirt, revealing his glistening pecs, which caused several local women to faint at the scent of his chest musk. All right, I don't know if it happened like that, but he walked across the room and grabbed a dry shirt and realized that it felt much warmer than the one that was drenched in sweat that he was previously wearing. No doubt he wasn't the first person who had thought this.
Yeah, but he's the first person to pioneer off of the thought. He's like, hey, did you ever realize when you're wet, you're colder? Boom, mic drop.
Exactly. It was the first time a fucking genius had realized it.
Right, the common man's like, yeah, of course, that's fucking Jesus Christ. Why you gotta write that down? That's fucking stupid. That's common sense. I don't know why we're British all of a sudden, but...
well, it was the 1750s. Most people probably were. But I love how they're all Cockney in your mind. Of course, this piqued his curiosity, being the curious man that he was.
Very curious. Menage a trois.
He and old Johnny Boy began conducting experiments together, using various liquids, including alcohol, ether. Basically, by placing the liquid on a bulb of a mercury thermometer, they would watch the temperature go down as the liquid began evaporating, which would cool it faster as they blew on it, too. So what did that accomplish? Well, they discovered a correlation between evaporation of liquids and cooling.
Through the act of evaporation, it cooled.
Yes. So that concept probably wasn't unknown to most people. Like, wet cools you down. But they probably didn't know about the evaporation thing.
Right.
And despite what we think about the intelligence of ancient people, like we've talked about before, they weren't dumb. They just didn't have a way to discover the things, these things at different times in history. So it no doubt was common knowledge that, like I said, wet equals cold. But they were the first two to find the science.
And, to go back to that previous statement, obviously I know it wasn't just a smart dude writing it down. People ponder on things and want to know the phenomenon they're experiencing.
We as a species are curious, but some of us are too dumb to actually figure it out.
Right. I think most of us just kind of work around shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're just like, it could be worse. And we're British again for some reason.
We're British again. So in 1820, an inventor named Michael Faraday, who was the true goat of science, by the way, Albert Einstein, the OG MC squared of pi, kept a photo of this guy in his study.
Wow.
Like, he was that real of a deal.
Are you making that up?
I am not. None of this is made up.
Okay.
Except for maybe the glistening pecs thing.
No, that's canon. I read that in the history books.
So Faraday was experimenting with cooling properties of gas when he found out by compressing and liquidizing ammonia and then letting it evaporate, the result would cool the entire laboratory.
So this is the guy I remember learning about in the HVAC classes, and how different liquids have like lower boiling points than water and stuff. Like ammonia is one of those ones, and they use that still for like big plants and stuff, I'm pretty sure. I think they're trying to phase it out, but it's used for like mass chilling of stuff like I've seen it in poultry plants because Virginia.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't know that he was still studied in HVAC classes. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you might be asking yourself, if your name's Dustin, you'll say, Dustin, how did Faraday use this discovery to better the world? Well, Dustin, I've got the answer for that.
Boo Boo too. I mean, I'm.
Okay, well, if your name's, it was a bad joke anyway. So
we could do it again. I'll change, I swear.
So how did he use this discovery to better the world, right?
Right.
The answer to that is, I don't fucking know. I couldn't find anything out more about it, so let's fast forward a bit.
Okay.
So after old Mikey Faraday made his discovery, a doctor in Florida named John Gorey, which is a badass name, by the way.
Hell yeah.
Maybe not John, but Gorey. I'd love to have a last name like Gorey.
I feel like if you have the last name Gorey, your first name could be whatever the fuck you want. You could even be Ashley. Not like I'm hating on people named Ashley, but you know what I mean?
I can't prove it, but he may have named himself because he had that much of a badass last name.
Yeah. I mean, the doctors probably asked him, like, what do you want to be named? He's like, John.
Yeah, he was birthed a Gorey, and they asked him. So Dr. Gorey was looking for a method to keep his patients with yellow fever cool, because, yellow fever's fucked up. I've heard of it. I didn't really know what it was, so I did some Googling.
Uh-huh.
It is pretty fucked.
I've heard of it, yeah. It sounds colorful.
Oh, initial symptoms can include fever, chills, severe headaches, back pain, body aches, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, or feeling poopy to the layperson, and weakness.
Uh-oh. Do I have yellow fever?
Do you have all those symptoms?
I just don't eat right.
Oh, yeah, that could be it, too. So most people that develop the symptoms will typically improve within a few weeks, but for some, the weakness and poopiness may last for months.
Oh.
But for those that don't recover even that quickly, it can develop into even more severe symptoms, including higher fever, jaundice, which is characterized by eyes that look like Simpson skin. It's yellow. Bleeding, shock, and organ failure.
Wow. A funny little bit of lore about me. I was told as a small infant, I combated jaundice in the hospital.
Damn.
Yeah, thanks.
Hell yeah.
No.
Hell no. 30 to 60% of the people that get these severe symptoms will die.
Oh.
I don't know why they have such a wide range there of 30 to 60%. Like, I think you could narrow it down a little better.
50-50. Just say that.
So Dr. Gorey thought maybe cooling the hospital rooms that these people were suffering in could help, because of the high fucking fever. So his invention was an air cooling machine that compressed a gas, cooling it through radiating coils, then expanding it to lower the temperature even more. I don't know what all that means. But this principle is still used in refrigerators today.
Yeah, I can roughly actually walk you through that process. So, from what I understand, you got your liquid, your refrigerant, whatever it is, and you have, there's a condenser and an evaporator, and it uses that heat principle you talked about where it evaporates the liquid, and that's it evaporates it, like you said, by sending it through a really, really tiny canal, forcing it to evaporate, and then it condenses in a larger part of the pipe where it turns back into liquid, and then it just cycles through. And that's why you should never, it's supposed to just, you fill it up, that's it. And it's the same refrigerant, in theory, forever. I don't know about the forever part. I made that part up.
Now that I've realized how much you know about HVAC, I feel like a kid trying to teach his parents about something they already know way too much about.
No. Sir, I am a line cook.
That's really cool, though. I didn't know how exactly it worked. I couldn't process it in my little pea brain because what I wrote down is basically the extent of what I was told, and I didn't know anything more about it. So, yeah, I'm glad you could elaborate on that further.
Yeah, it was all right. Oh, yeah, I know you can't see me, folks, but you recognize that sound? That's me patting myself on the back.
Well deserved.
Not really. I didn't do anything with it except for this. Well, you know what? It paid off. That's what I did it for, this moment on this day.
Talk about the long game.
No shit. It's been like fucking 7 years, but it finally came in handy.
So in 1844, he became the first person to mechanically produce ice.
Oh, cool.
Literally. So he quit practicing medicine to pursue this new cool dream of his, which was to work on his refrigeration ideas. And nice. By 1850, he was producing ice the size of bricks. And I don't know how big bricks were back then, but I can say it was bigger than an ice cube, so that's pretty impressive.
They stood at 2 cubits.
That sounds right, and I don't know the science to dispute it.
Good.
Gorey was granted a patent for his ice machine on May 6, 1851, patent number 8080, which is pretty cool. I mean, this guy was just winning everywhere with his name, with the patent he got.
No shit.
Like, it would have been cooler if he got 6969, but I don't think they had that back then, so wouldn't have
probably would have went over their heads, yeah. I mean, we'd have been like, nice.
Yeah, we would have been like, nice. He would have been like, huh?
Like, I don't get it. It's actually just a number. They'd be like, no. You see, it's when a man and a woman love, whatever.
The only position I know, sir, is missionary.
Nobody actually likes the 69. It's okay. It's overrated. It's more a cruel inside joke among society than an actual position.
Despite patenting and creating a machine that would create ice, he was unable to raise any money to further the project, and he returned home humiliated by critics, pitiless, and in bad health.
Damn.
He died alone in 1855.
Oh, that poor fucking guy.
And I'm laughing because I just referenced how he was just ultimately winning at life, and then this suddenly happens. I forgot all about it.
Fucking so hard to fucking not at all. It got really dark and depressing there at the end.
Oh, the fucked up thing is that a few decades later, in 1881, President James A. Garfield, who was not a cat, was dying.
Fuck.
Naval engineers basically replicated the concept that Gorey came up with, pretty much the exact thing, and they cooled the room by 20 degrees. The problem they found was the same problem that Dr. Gorey had encountered. An enormous amount of ice would be needed to keep the room cooled continuously. They were doing that to save President James A. Garfield, who was not a cat's life.
He did love lasagna, though, reportedly.
Allegedly.
Do with that what you will.
I don't know if he even had ever heard of lasagna. We need to do some research on that.
Right.
But despite this, it proved that the good doc was onto something, and he was just unable to capitalize and further that advancement. So, they basically proved his concept later after he died alone, and probably by some of the same people that would have criticized him.
God damn. If that isn't a tale as old as time, huh?
Right?
They only love you after you're dead. You only get flowers after you're dead.
So now we're going to come to the first modern electric air conditioner.
All right.
And it was invented by a name that most people have probably heard of, but may not realize it. And I know you've heard of it because HVAC. That name is Willis Carrier. You should recognize his last name at least.
Yeah, yeah, I do recognize.
Maybe not the Willis.
Yep. The Willis Carrier?
What you talking about, Willis? So he created, as we all know, if you do, the Carrier Engineering Corporation.
Yes.
And according to his website, according to his company's website, because he doesn't have a website anymore, he's dead. He was born on November 26, 1876 in Angola, New York. He was 6'7" and had a foot-long pain stick.
What?
I made that up. I don't know.
Why was that the one I called?
I don't know anything about his height or his dong size, and it wasn't on his website.
Rumors at best.
It is a fact, however, that he got a job at the Buffalo Forge Company in, of all places, Buffalo, New York, after graduating from Cornell University in 1901.
Wow.
And in July 1902, he was asked to solve an air quality problem that the Sackett Wilhelms Lithography and Publishing Company had. So that's a mouthful. So it turns out that they were just as good as maintaining their air quality as they were with coming up with a marketable name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So basically their issue was that the humidity in the summer was so bad that the company's papers grew and shrank, which would fuck up all the images on them, which they need. Yeah. So the color printing process at the time involved printing over the same piece of paper over and over as many as 4 times to get the image onto it.
Okay.
And so this stretching because of the humidity and shrinking fucked up the images.
God damn it.
So when he was asked to fix the problem, Willis stood up from his chair, whipped out his mammoth cock on the desk in front of his clients and his boss, and told them, never breaking eye contact, to give him a little time, and he'll come up with something.
Boom. I got it.
I don't know if the cock thing is true, but it does sound cool.
It was on the website.
It might be on the website. Check that out. So, dick jokes aside, he installed a machine in their building by the end of that year, and it set the standard for air conditioning units.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he fucked around with it for a few more years, and on January 2nd, 1906, he was granted the U.S. patent 808897 for the apparatus for treating air.
For treating air?
So basically, in 1902, he was asked to solve this problem. In 1903, he solved the problem, and he fucked around with it a little bit, and in 1906, was granted a patent.
Wow.
So he did not fuck around.
Nah, he took that shit serious. No, nose to the grindstone, buddy.
Indeed. So that was the first one. It was put into an industrial building to help with the situation. But the first residential air conditioner was installed in 1914.
Oh, wow. That's not really that far along, when you think contextually.
Yeah. It's not really that far out there. And the problem was, though, it was almost as big as his dick.
Oh, that's huge.
And by that, I mean it was 7 foot high, 6 feet wide, and 20 feet long.
And had a foot long dong.
And yeah, it had a couple of balls hanging off of it. And of course, just like everything in ancient times, the first person to have the high-tech air conditioning was some rich son of a bitch.
Yeah, that figures.
And his name sounds like a rich son of a bitch. His name was Charles Gilbert Gates.
Oh, that's so rich.
Yeah, and his father was John Warren Gates. And don't know how popular the name Warren was back then, but it sounds pretty fucking weird now.
Warren.
But Papa Warren was a businessman, a gambler, and a mustache enthusiast.
He had a fine pair of handlebars.
I guess to shake the humiliation of a stupid middle name like Warren, he not only had a cool mustache, he was also known by the nickname Bet a Million Gates. And I would bet a million that he gave himself that nickname.
Gates. Where have I heard that before? Gates. That last name, it's so familiar. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can taste it.
It's not that important.
Okay.
So back to the nickname Bet a Million. He didn't give himself that nickname. In fact, he actually hated it. Allegedly.
It's like, I bet 50 grand, okay? Nowhere near a mill.
But he made his fortune in the barbed wire industry.
Oh, shit.
And as you know, the barbed wire is what helped tame the West. That's a big industry. We should probably do like an episode on barbed wire sometime because it's more than just a fence. It's a whole thing.
It's a lifestyle. It
is a lifestyle. It's not just a tattoo on a tough guy's arm either. But back to little Gilbert. Charles Gilbert Gates had a mansion built and air conditioning installed. The ironic part, he died at age 37 before the house was completed and no one ever lived in it.
Oh, my God.
So the first air conditioning built into a house was never even used. Yeah, I guess they just tore it down.
You're like, well, damn, now what are we going to do? Well, tear it down.
Out of morbid curiosity, I wanted to find out what he died of. Because, 37, he died of apoplexy.
Which is?
It's an old-timey term that refers to a stroke or a similar condition.
Oh, no, lumbago.
And just in case you're wondering why he passed so relatively young, it was 1913, and 37's pretty much into your golden years back then, so.
Right, you're an old man.
Yeah, he was up there. So the next big step for the AC was being adopted by movie theaters.
Ah.
So in the 1920s, the movie business exploded. And because studios owned their own theaters, which I didn't know that.
No, me either.
The race to build bigger, more lavish cinemas was on. And one of the amenities they wanted to offer, of course, was popcorn. Just kidding, it was air conditioning.
Overpriced candy and soda soon to come.
Yeah, yes. So it added the lure to get movie theaters to come in during the stifling, or is it stifling? It's stifling. Summer months.
Stifling. No, it fits the theme of today's lots of dick jokes.
Yeah, that is a complete slip of the tongue that I'm leaving in. Normally I'll try to cut my mistakes because I do a lot of them and nobody wants to hear that over and over. So in 1931, the first window units are invented by H. Schultz and J.Q. Sherman, which sounds like a couple of playboys if I've ever heard of it. Like, they were drowning in pussy.
Fucking HH stands for huge and hairy.
And JQ stands for, I can't think. I don't know.
Just huge.
Just huge, but the second letter is a Q. Just huge.
Yes.
So their design is still used today, albeit, with the modern advances. So the units back then sold from $10,000 to $50,000. And in 1931, that's equivalent to $207,000 or $1,038,000 today.
Oh no, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, and it brings me back to what we were saying. Once again, rich assholes sucking up all the cool air.
Yeah, thanks.
So in 1939, Packard invented the first air conditioner in a vehicle, which is a blessing coming from someone who used to have a car that had no air conditioning.
Yeah, that shit sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks. Unlike today, though, it's mounted in the trunk and not the front, and it would actually blow through the back of the car.
Yeah, that's, was it like have its own battery or something?
I don't believe so. I couldn't really find probably could have, but I didn't find a diagram on how exactly it worked in that respect. Like, I saw diagrams on how it would fluctuate,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't see anything about it having its own battery. It was a luxury item. Like, you couldn't
Sounds like it.
Yeah, you couldn't just walk into a dealership and be like, "Give me your car and make sure it's got AC in it, buddy." Otherwise,
yeah, what do I look like, huh?
Otherwise, you'd have to, plop down another $275 back then,
Ugh.
or which is equivalent to $6,240 today.
Ugh.
But I'd say that's worth it. If I had to pay $6,000 extra on my car, it would not only double the value of my vehicle, but I'd want the AC. I'd just say go ahead and double it.
Fuck it. I'm cheap.
During the post-WW2 economic boom, air conditioners became much more popular and affordable.
Okay.
And we have...
The world gets a little hot after 2 atomic bombs are dropped, so we got to find a way to cool it down.
That's a great point. I actually made a note of that right here. No, not really. That's not why. But we could thank an engineer named Henry Galson for this relief. He made it more affordable. He made it more compact, less expensive, and by 1947, 43,000 of those units were sold.
Wow.
6 years later, over 1 million of them.
Damn.
So yeah, very popular. Very popular.
Right.
And I can't find the exact time frame for when central air was, invented. But
right.
But it basically just took the concept of the window unit and just added vents and made a, more powerful engine, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And, used a series of ducts and vents to cool down multiple rooms at a time. And since then, its popularity, of course, has only grown.
Yay! Yeah, now you can get ones fucking... I don't know. You can get them pretty dirt cheap, depending on how bulky you want it.
I bought my window unit for $30 off of Facebook, but that's an exception.
Yeah, I think my last one I owned, I actually got gifted, and it was old and fucking full of stink bugs and shit. Because once again, Virginia.
Yeah.
But I think it worked. Fucking, it worked.
I've seen brand new ones at Walmart for like at $125 to $150, which is reasonable compared to $6,000.
Right, but you got to be smart and buy it in the not hot season. Otherwise, when you get there in the hot season, it's like $300, and then they're like, "Yeah, we put this shit on sale." Hold up, what's going on here?
So, as many as 87 of all American households have some form of air conditioning, whether it be window unit or central air.
Mm-hmm.
And innovations in technology has made these systems even more efficient. Today's models using about 50% less electricity as they did in 1990.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And since then, of course, we've had different styles of air conditioners. I've seen the ones that are like towers that turn and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool, but they don't cool like the window units do.
Right.
But they are nice.
Yeah, I guess, how do you fit all that into a compact little fan-shaped thing, those towers?
Yeah. And all those window units, at least the ones I've seen, put out so much heat through the back because they... the condensing process.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't think you can eventually I'm sure we will make something smaller that works just as efficiently as anything else.
Right.
But there you have it. That's the mostly complete history of the air conditioner.
Wow. I actually enjoyed this subject a lot more than I thought I would.
I'm glad you could contribute to things I couldn't quite comprehend myself.
Yeah, well, and enjoy it because this is the only time it's going to happen probably.
Well, thank you for joining us. If you're joining us, if you're not joining us, well, fuck you. You're never going to hear that.
Yeah, and if you made it to the end, God, we love you. We really do.
I don't know.
All right, love is a little strong. Maybe I have some issues and I need to work out by next week's episode.
We like you guys. We don't like you.
Yeah.